Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of The Bachelor, the Women Tell All, everyone's favorite night of the season. Nah, not really.
Yep, where all these women have to go back and watch their breakups again because clearly it wasn't enough the first time. Like, come on. This happens every single time where people have to go back and watch these breakups and they get all emotional and hurting and it sucks so bad. And it sucks so bad the first time. Why you gotta make them go through it again? They
Okay.
were there.
Here's the thing with this. They drag this out for an hour and 50 minutes every single year, and they bait us by giving us like 3 minutes of like decent bloopers.
Yeah.
This is where we are, but you know what? We recognize we have a duty to do here at the channel. We strapped in, we prepared ourselves, we came with notes. We're gonna talk about who.
You came with notes?
I got notes, everyone. I wrote down who are the Bachelor in Paradise contenders following the Women Tell All.
There was one person that was clearly going to Paradise. They are gonna ask her.
I am going to hand out the award of why was this person not at the Women Tell All. We'll talk a little bit about Bachelorette as well, but before we get into anything more here, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, because there are a couple of episodes left on this most dramatic. They are not even calling it the most dramatic season, so it must not be that dramatic. I'm just throwing it out there.
Feels like it's been pretty dramatic to me.
The most dramatic season of The Bachelor for reasons that aren't actually due to what's happening on the screen right now.
Exactly.
But also, if you missed it yesterday, it was Jess's birthday. We had a lot of fun. We talked about some gifts. We talked about donuts.
Yeah, and we have a video here at the channel, so if you missed it and you want to check it out, we got a little more sort of just personal if you do want to get to know a little more about us.
Okay, let's start big picture here. Was there any actual moment in this that stood out that you're going to be like remembering a week from now?
Yes, and
Okay.
that moment is Chelsea's really bad take on Katie and basically saying that the house wasn't toxic until Katie spoke up about the house being toxic. That basically Katie saying something made the house toxic. That was such a bad take. I don't know why she said that. I mean, it felt like nobody was really coming after her in this whole thing that was going on. There was a couple girls in a hot seat, but Chelsea wasn't one of them. So it's just such a strange thing to say that, basically all this stuff that's going on and the bullying and everybody being toxic wasn't a problem until somebody spoke out about it.
How dare Katie try to be a good, responsible human being? And this is the weirdest thing is that it's from Chelsea, because I liked Chelsea through most of the season.
I was rooting for Chelsea too, and then she said this, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. I mean, is she somebody who believes that, okay, if you manifest something, you make it so, in which case, I'm going to manifest that this computer turns into a red velvet cake right now and see if it happens, but
I just have a feeling that maybe, she is friends with some of these women, and it was a situation where they addressed this on the show that it is really bad online for a lot of these women. And I understand that there are going to be people that are going to hold them responsible for the things that they said. That is fine. I've always been fine with that. If you say something, you can say what you want, but if there are going to be consequences for what you say or what you do, that is fine.
Yeah.
But there's a line with it. You can't get into a lot of the stuff that has been happening online to people. And I kind of wonder if maybe this is where Chelsea was coming from with it, that she has seen how bad it's gotten, that people have long crossed over the line with this stuff, and she was just like, it's not okay, and was thinking, maybe if Katie didn't say anything, then maybe this wouldn't have happened, but that's not true.
yeah.
Then Katie would just be part of everyone who didn't say anything.
Yeah, it all just could have gotten so much worse. None of these people who are like, oh, it would have been totally different if Katie didn't speak up, because I believe...
That's not true.
Yeah, nobody would have actually been able to stop it. It would have been just like a train going further and further out of control. And, the part of this episode that really actually surprised me the most is there were multiple dates that seemed to be very, very fun. Oh, I don't know if, like, sticking your hand and, like, weird stuff is in the box is fun, but you know what?
Yeah, we don't need Bachelor Fear Factor.
I would have taken Bachelor Fear Factor over 5 more minutes of Victoria, and I feel like producers were like, no, let's not put any of the fun moments in and instead throw in all the just toxicity and negative junk.
Yeah, this season could have been a lot more balanced now that I've seen some of these other dates where I was like, man, that looked fun, or that looked fun, or why wasn't there enough balance? And I get that there was a lot of drama going on, but more so it felt like, people being toxic and not really the fun drama, but like just really bad stuff happening that they were like, oh, the audience is going to want to see this. Okay, well, you could have cut back a couple of those things and given some smiles to balance it out, because this whole first part of the season was really front loaded with toxic behavior.
And that is one of the things that The Bachelor is just really lost its way on, I feel like, this season, is that people watch The Bachelor for an escape. You want to see some fun moments, you want to see a love story, you want to see romance, but, in between all the just toxic stuff early on and everything lately with Rachel, it's just become just constant difficult stuff. And some of this is on casting, some of this is on producers, some of it's on the individual people for doing what exactly it is that they did. But at least when it comes to the editing, the thing that the show can fully control, you can control showing us something fun over beating the same thing into our brains.
Yeah, and I was not surprised by how Matt handled it when he came out, where it was sort of like, oh, there's all these things that happened, and here are all the women, what is your take on it? There was a part of me that wanted to hear Matt really hold them accountable for what they said and what they did. But it felt like a very sort of PR canned response of sort of like, you know what, everybody's a good person. Everybody's not perfect. Everybody's got good qualities. Blah, blah. Yeah, we all know that. Everybody's good and everybody's got bad stuff too.
Yeah.
Everybody. Nobody's perfect. But when you're doing bad stuff, you need to have, accountability for it. And someone like Matt, who was the lead of the show, to really hold them accountable and just be like, what you said was really bad. I don't stand for it. And there wasn't really a lot of that going on.
In order for people to change, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about The Bachelor, real life, anything else, the only way to bring about change is to actually make sure someone knows what they did was wrong. And, you can apply that to any of the women on this season who did bad stuff. You can apply it to Chris. You can apply it all over the place. And it just feels like it was a little bit of a missed opportunity. And I like Matt well enough. He seems like a nice enough guy. Yeah. He's obviously been put in a pretty tough position as of late, but it just feels like I don't get to know enough about him on the show, and that bums me out.
Yeah, I mean, even tonight, in his response to this situation of what was going on in the house and stuff, he still feels very much like he's afraid to say anything wrong or anything that could be misconstrued in any kind of way. He's really being so careful, and it is making it difficult to get to know him, or really I'm rooting for him to find love, but at the same time I'm like, I don't really know who I'm rooting for because I don't know him that well. I haven't that's why all those those dates, the fun dates, it felt like I was kind of getting to know him a little bit better. Some of the outtakes, same thing, right?
I found out a lot more about Matt in those bloopers than I did through a lot of the show, whether it be the number of times in which he wiped out, which was a lot, to the hot tub incident, which I will just leave that right there.
He just has a really good sense of humor, which we have seen a little bit on the show, but not nearly to this extent. And I think that this show doesn't need to be so dramatic. I mean, we just had Tayshia's season, and
Yeah.
there was really no drama there. It was just sort of love and lots of charisma and fun moments, and it was one of the best they've ever had.
It's really a reminder that, Matt season's got this fantastic location, some pretty cool dates given the environment that they're in, and,
Yep.
Tayshia's looks like at times it was just funded through, like, Dollar Tree, and yet it was so much more fun because
Way
you had,
more fun.
a great cast. You had a lead who we kind of understood and related to.
See, I think that's also part of what has been a part of the trouble for Matt season is the cast. There are some really good women in there, but it's just been overshadowed by all this mean girl behavior that we didn't even really get to know a lot of these women either.
And that's where things get interesting with the who could the next Bachelorette be debate, because it seemed like reports were out there saying it was Katie, and I was really, really happy about this. I still would be happy. Katie got screen time throughout the entirety of this episode tonight.
Yeah, and her interview with Chris felt like it was an interview to be like, well, what are you looking for in a man?
Yeah.
That sort of thing, that she would be the next Bachelorette.
I still think she probably will be. I don't know when they're going to announce it or any. It feels like tonight would have been a golden opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what's going to be going on with that, if it's everything that's happened with Chris. And we have a video about that, and we'll link it for you below. We're not going to get into it again. But yeah, I will say it was interesting that there was like a little disclaimer at the bottom at the very beginning of this that made it very clear that this was filmed before that interview with Chris.
Yeah, I wondered how they were going to address that. I didn't know if they were going to cut him down in the episode, but no, they put it at the start. They aired, I guess, the special in the way in which they intended to. And yeah, I don't know what happens with The Bachelorette now, because to me, the only two contenders that they've given a ton of time to are Katie and Abigail.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if Michelle doesn't get the final rose, I would love to see it. I don't know if that would happen, but I think it's a very limited pool.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some options out there, but I mean, Abigail, I would love to see her as a Bachelorette. Katie, I love Katie, but it felt tonight like she was getting the Bachelorette interview, so don't be surprised.
Speaking of pools, let's dive into the big Paradise pool for a moment here and swim through.
All right, Mari, we'll see you on Paradise. Like, she was like not really on the show a lot, but she was spotlighted so much tonight. There was even at one point where Chris was like, and Mari, what do you think? I'm like, why is he asking her? I guess she's going to Paradise.
There's always that like one person every season who gets like a weird amount of airtime in the tell-all. And yeah, Mari, it is you. I cannot name a single notable thing that separates you from anyone else on this season from the actual season.
Yeah, and I think they might ask Brittanys to come as well, but I would be really surprised if she agreed to do this. I mean, her interview with Chris was really heartbreaking, talking about how she like would Google herself and the things that come up, and I love the way she addressed it, that it's like, this type of work, there's nothing to be, ashamed of. It's important work. It's good work. People do this work and that's fine. But that is not the work that she is doing. So it's harder for her because she's not actually involved in that work. And it's more about just the lie being damaging to her.
I loved everything that Brittanys said tonight. I thought she was fantastic.
She was great.
I thought she addressed that part of the situation really well. I thought she handled Anna really well and pointing out her issues and the fact that she hadn't really spoken to her since the show.
Yeah, what did you think of the Anna apology?
It was very calculated. Like it felt like Anna knew what she was going to say, but at the same time, I don't want to say it rang hollow because I do think she probably realizes what she did was really, really bad, but it is also the why did you not contact Brittany outside of the show, because that would tell me that on a private level you care about her as a human being, as opposed to I'm just gonna come on TV and do this. Like, that's the thing I have a bigger problem with than anything that Anna actually said.
Yeah, I found that it was a bit strange, and it was actually the most strange that she didn't contact her during all this time while it's airing. I mean, I'm sure Anna was getting a lot of hate online, and I'm sure she knew that so was Brittany for some of this stuff. Not hate, but that she was getting all this sort of like, oh, I've seen this about you or whatever about you, that she should have reached out at that time. That if she didn't come to the conclusion I was wrong while she was doing it, I mean, when she left and she said goodbye to Matt, she said she knew it was wrong. So where was the call then, even before anything had aired, if you knew it was wrong? There was something about it that just didn't sit.
No, that part of it rubs me the wrong way. And, you know, with Brittany, it's her decision, obviously, if she wants to do Paradise or not. I mean, maybe this franchise just has a bad taste in her mouth at this point, but...
If I was Brittany, I wouldn't.
Like, I would say that, you know, if she does go on Paradise, and let's say she finds someone perfect for her and they get engaged, like, maybe it does help to take a little bit of the sting away, but I don't know, because I'm not her, and I don't know what sort of impact psychologically this has on her. I can't even understate how difficult it must be.
It's also that it's not only Anna. Like, Anna said what she said, but the show could have chosen not to air any of that.
They could have.
We saw all the extra footage that was there. There was whole dates we didn't even see. So that could have been taken out and not actually hurt Brittany the way that it did, let alone bringing her back on tonight to make her relive that. Which is why this is, besides the fantasy suites, which is my least favorite episode, this is probably my second least favorite episode, just in general, because it is about, you know, only drama and reliving heartbreak over and over and over again. And I'm here for the love.
I wish we just had more love on this season. It's like we've got, I think Michelle and Rachel, I think Matt's clearly into them, but obvious reasons I can't get into the Rachel stuff. And Michelle, I'm rooting for her. I'm worried about it.
Yeah, we have more on the Rachel stuff. We did talk about that in another video as well. So we've got that. We'll link that for you below.
But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, the last thing that I want to talk about is just sort of the Victoria of it all, because, I mean, she brought up again that she was really sort of taken out online. And I mean, it has been pretty bad out there. And again, I think people need to be held accountable, but there's a difference between that and some of the stuff that's been going on for Victoria. You got to hold people accountable, but you don't need to do that. And I think that's a lot of sort of what she was talking about. It did feel like the character of Victoria and the Queen and all that was stripped back a lot tonight.
Yeah, I think she realized that I think she went into it thinking she was going to be on Paradise and that this was going to be some stick that people really, really liked. Instead, most everyone hated it and hated the way that she acted. And
well, yeah, I mean, being the Queen doesn't mean you're mean to people. Yeah. I mean, you can be a nice queen that helps people. That is, you know, part of being an actual queen.
There are so many different ways she could have handled it, but at this point, yeah, I mean, Victoria kind of acted like I thought she would. That's why, you know, there's no real point in rehashing the MJ and Jasenia stuff. Some of the a lot of it was just sort of expected, and I come out of this episode thinking, okay, I think maybe Jasenia and Piper, we see them maybe again at some point down the road. Chelsea, I don't know, after tonight. That's the big thing that I'm taking away from tonight was sort of this turnaround on Chelsea, who was someone that I was really rooting for, that I liked a lot. She's so beautiful and she's just really smart, and then this, and then she said this, and I just wasn't sure where she was coming from. And I hope that there is like
some sort of interview or something out there after tonight where she does talk more about where she was coming from with that? Is it just that she watched the show back and was like, no, they didn't really mean it this way? Or is it that she's watching them get dragged online in the worst way, not held accountable, but all the other stuff I was talking about? And she's like, no, like it's too much.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear her point of view. I mean, there's a lot of filler in this. There almost always is.
Yeah, it's almost like a Clips episode.
I do have to hand out the award, though, for the why was this person not at the Women Tell All?
All right.
Maggie, are you still stuck in the lake? Were you never able to get out of the boat?
No.
What happened? She could have been on Paradise. I don't think she's going to now because she wasn't at this, but
No.
I think the reality is because they are in kind of a contained area and, you have to go back into the bubble. These are smaller tell-alls than we usually get.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a lot to go back for that.
Yeah, it is. So, it was special. There was a couple of fun moments. It's just weird watching this with everything we know, and it's weird knowing that there's only a couple of episodes left.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy seeing sort of the dates that were cut, and I really wish I had made the show, and it was, of course, fun seeing the bloopers.
Final thing, thumbs up or thumbs down on Matt James's beard, because I will give you a take.
All right, give me your take. I'm not a beard person in general. I don't really like any beards, but I think it's fine. I've seen lots of people online talking about the beard. It's fine. It's just a beard.
At first, I hated it. I will say that. And I think part of this is that if I have facial hair longer than 4 days, I can't stand it. I feel like I have to shave immediately. But as it kind of was sitting there for a while, I was kind of coming around to it. I was like, you know what? He looks a little bit different this way. He's he's right. He kind of looks like a wise sage you would see. Maybe he can live in High Hrothgar in Skyrim or something like that. But all right. What did you guys think about the Women Tell All? Do you want to visit Matt James at High Hrothgar from Skyrim? Let us know in the comments. And if you do like this video, subscribe, give us a like, support us further. We've got links to the store, the Patreon. I hope I said Hrothgar correctly, and we will see you guys here next time.